What's going on, YouTube? Did I ever mention I was a wrestling fan? I love WWE, and I have been a viewer every now and then of AEW, but I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan until now. You see, AEW had their go home shows for Dynamite and Collision here in New Mexico. And when I say go home show, it was a go home show for Forbidden Door, which we will be seeing this weekend. And of course, I had to be in attendance for it. I recognize the wrestlers that are in AEW, and I am familiar with the fact that a lot of them are considered some of the best. And it was awesome getting to go see them. So, this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video. I'm going to be reviewing the Dynamite show for you in this video. And whenever Collision comes out, I'll post a review on Collision because I got to see a little early sneak preview of that as well. First matchup. Death Riders versus Brodito and Mystico. I don't really know much of these guys. These are kind of new to me. I know who Mystico is because if you know, you know. But Mystico was very cool. Brodito was very cool. I think Bandito is my favorite wrestler in AEW. He was exciting to watch. He was awesome, and his in-ring ability was electric. He definitely became one of my favorites early on. And they take on the Death Riders with John Moxley, Daniel Garcia, who was not in the match, but he was with them. He has a match later on the show. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. I think that it says that's his name, so I'm gonna go off what AEW's roster list. And the Death Riders pick up this victory by some shenanigans from Marina Shafir, but definitely a great match to kick off the show, and Bandito easily is becoming my favorite with AEW. Second matchup, Marina Shafir versus Harley Cameron. Now, these are two people that I've maybe heard their names mentioned before, but I was not very aware of. But it was cool seeing Harley Cameron in this type of Supergirl inspired gear. Maybe I'll pop it up on the screen if I can get a good photo. It was pretty cool. The gear was pretty cool. But early on in this match, Marina Shafir dominated. She was had plenty of control throughout the entire match. And then Harley Cameron was able to, get some moves in and then sneak a victory by roll up, I believe. And so Harley Cameron takes the W here. This was a pretty cool match, follow up to the Death Riders. And what's really smooth about the AEW show, I'll say this, every match leads into like the next one, if that makes sense. Specifically with managers. If there's a faction who has a match coming up, the faction will just leave but keep one of their members behind because he already has his match coming up. I don't know if that was an off screen thing or if it was just me being there in person, but it was a very smooth transition. Third matchup, Will Ospreay versus ELP. I'm not too familiar with either of these guys, but I do know Will Ospreay. His name has been mentioned a lot, and he is talked about as like one of the best wrestlers. And when I watched this match, he proved it. He was insanely good. But to some respect to ELP, I don't know what his gimmick is. I believe he's coming from New Japan, but I did see a lot of Heart Foundation inspired gear. I don't know if he's related to them in any way, but I did see some Bret Hart inspired, the pants with the pink, and then it looked a lot like it. I know he hit the submission move, so I'm gonna put pieces together and say he's probably related to the Heart Foundation in some way. But he's an amazing wrestler. I'm not too familiar with ELP as much as Will Ospreay, but this guy can wrestle. He stole the show in this match, even though Ospreay was, of course, Ospreay. He was amazing. Both of these guys deserve their flowers for putting on match of the night. Uh, it was so electric to watch. Being there in person, it was so cool. Next match up, Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Will Ospreay picked up the victory. So, with Strickland versus Daniel Garcia, this match it was good. It was good because they got to showcase their talents against each other. But man, it was really just to showcase Swerve Strickland because he was over with this crowd. I don't. It's probably a common thing for him to get some of the loudest pops of the night, but all of New Mexico was chanting "Whose house?" and then following up with saying "Swerve's house." And man, I'm gonna say this. Among all the entrance music, okay, Mystical had some good music, okay? It was very soothing. But by far the cleanest music of all of them was Swerve Strickland. I was jamming out back and forth. His music was fire, and his wrestling ability matches the intensity of his music. It was cool seeing him. I do I do know Swerve Strickland, um, but for his time in other promotions. Getting to see him here was awesome, and it's a breath of fresh air because what I'm used to seeing with him versus what he's done in AEW, it's really cool seeing how like different he is in a positive direction. So it was very cool seeing him wrestle. His moves were awesome, and he picks up this victory by hitting Will Ospreay's finisher. Next matchup, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jack Perry. These are two guys I have no clue who they are. I think I know a little bit about Jack Perry because he was with like a dinosaur Luchasaurus, I think his name was. So I remember him from that if I am correct. But Zack Sabre Jr., I'm not too familiar with him. I believe he comes from New Japan Pro, and I did watch previous episodes to prepare myself for this episode, and he is in a rivalry right now with his faction TMDK versus, of course, well, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry. So this was a cool match. Zack Sabre, I mean, I think they mentioned it quite a few times. He is one of like the greatest technical wrestlers in the game right now, if not up there all time in technical wrestling. He was hitting so many moves. The submissions were his thing. It was cool seeing the technical side of the wrestling, and Jack Perry did a good job as well. But Zack Sabre Jr. picked up the W here in an impressive victory. On the topic of TMDK taking on Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry, the next match up is TMDK versus the Young Bucks. And honestly, the Young Bucks entrance is cool, but I know their whole thing is like super kick party. And there was a lot of super kicks. They hit their like flexing pose, well, like money shot out of a cannon. That was pretty cool. And this match was fire. I mean, it was smooth. It was some great tag team wrestling. I think this was only the second, yeah, only the second tag team match of the night, which was still good. And so I really liked it. I messed with this match, and the Young Bucks pick up the victory here. There's not too much to say about it, but a nice match overall. Next up is some Ring of Honor action with Queen Aminata versus Red Velvet. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't know who either of these two are. I don't know who a lot of this roster is, but it was an interesting match. It was probably, with all respect, one of the weaker, if not the weakest match on the card. But I have no issue with it. It was a cool, entertaining match, and I believe Red Velvet is the champion right now in Ring of Honor, the television champion for the women. But she loses this match as Queen Aminata picks up the victory. This leads to something. I I want to get more into this. I'll get my ball knowledge up. I'll get my ball knowledge up with AEW and Ring of Honor. But Queen Aminata picks up this victory. And for the main event, we see the AEW International Championship on the line with champion Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet. This match was fire. Okay, these two have great in ring work. Ricochet, I am familiar with. Wonder why. But what he's done in AEW, I have followed a little bit of it. He's definitely grown his name and become a popular guy. Still, he cannot get over the fact that he's bald. If you know, you know. The fans were lighting him up about him being bald. Um, but this was a very impressive match. Ricochet does not pick up the W as he loses to Konosuke Takeshita. And to end the show, we have Team Briscoe facing off with Team MJF. It was just a back and forth. Your classic, the two leaders fight, then one guy on one team shows up, then the next guy, then the next guy, and it's just back and forth action. So it was a cool way to end the show. I'm excited to see that match at Forbidden Door. It's a steel cage match, 6 on 6. That's a lot of wrestlers. But Team Briscoe's team is pretty cool. Team MJF has some stars on it. I don't see how MJF's team loses, but I wouldn't be surprised if Team Briscoe wins because Mark Briscoe wants to face MJF for the title. That's where I think it leads, but MJF's team should win this because the talent on that team is insane. That's going to be all for Dynamite's review. Didn't expect to make a review, but I mean, with the opportunity here, might as well. I'm definitely becoming a bigger fan of AEW now. It's an awesome watch. The wrestling there is great. It's called All Elite Wrestling for a reason because the wrestling quality is amazing. So I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see what this leads to with Forbidden Door and after Forbidden Door.